Hello and welcome to HireHop. Today we'll be talking you through your all-in-one cloud-based equipment rental software. HireHop is designed to manage your entire day-to-day operation. It goes far beyond basic asset management for your rental products. It acts as the central hub for your business by seamlessly tying in your sales processes and managing your labour requirements from start to finish too. During this live run-through, you'll see how intuitive it is to create jobs and projects with live availability and handle everything from quoting to billing and purchase orders. We'll also cover how you can streamline your logistics with route planning and smart resource allocation. From there, we'll dive into our powerful warehouse management. You'll see the interactive schedule, our stock check functionality, and how easily you can manage all your repairs, tests, services, and maintenance. We'll also highlight our scanning app for fast collaborative warehouse scanning using barcodes, QR codes, NFC, RFID, or any combination of those. Top it all off with certified e-sign, webshop integration, an open API, and seamless connections to many major accounting packages and other software. And you have a complete, flexible, and scalable system built to run your business. There is so much more to show you, so let's dive right in. You'll see on my screen here that we are on the initial login screen. I'm going to log in with my company ID as Demo5, and then I've set up my Google sign-on, so I'm just going to continue from here. This will bring me onto my homepage, so we'll start here and then move through the modules before going through the job and project workflow a little bit later. On this homepage, you have many ways, first of all, to search. So searching by number for jobs, invoices, projects, barcodes, and so on. We can search by fields for jobs and projects, and in fact that search is available from any screen at all. You can click on that little menu on the top right and search from here too. We can search for jobs and projects between two dates. You also have preset searches. These will be stored searches which you can then save as one of your homepage tiles if you would like to. For example, I've got active jobs over here on the right hand side. This is a list view of all the active jobs on this test account. You can see the jobs listed here, different statuses. All the columns that you can see at the top are optional. You can add or remove the columns that you would like to see on the screen, and that's a user setting. You can filter this in different ways at the top and also at the bottom. Based on those filters, you can store your own favorite searches, which could also be a homepage tile. You can export to Excel once you've loaded the results too, and customize this screen as you wish. Double clicking on a job here will open the job. Alternatively, you can view these jobs in other ways. So you have a calendar view, which is on your homepage as well. So you'll be able to see the jobs that are happening instead of a list view. This is a calendar view. There are different visuals for that too. And from the menu in the settings here, as an example, you can filter that calendar down. So you can specify if you want to see a certain type of job, you want to look at certain jobs from certain depots, certain statuses. So you can really filter that calendar as you wish. Again, that's a user setting. If you wanted to as well, you can export an iCal link that will give you that calendar link that you can put onto your own devices as well. Coming back to the home page, in the management section is where most of the data is stored. Those modules are actually also available from that burger menu on the top right of any page, so you can access those from anywhere. We'll come to those shortly. I just would like to show you some of the modules available on the top of the home page. If we start with tasks, and actually I'm just going to go onto a different screen where we can have a look at the new update which is soon to be released. So for tasks, there's an update coming which will allow you to allocate tasks to multiple users. So here we have a task assigned to multiple people. They can be tentative, accepted, obviously the creator is there, and you can have custom fields through that as well. Notes in a similar way has also been updated, and that allows for custom fields to be added. Idea of a custom field is that will then automatically be stored as an additional column, and this column can then be filtered as you wish. As mentioned earlier, HireHop has live availability through the software. Availability here on the home page will allow you to filter by category for products. You can search, of course, by name and also part number too. and this will isolate the products in that particular category in this example. For this example light, we can see the large number on the screen is what's available on every single day. So we're going down here and we can see, for example, on the 14th, we only have one available with a -9, 9 being used. Double clicking on this cell will show you the reason for this. So I have 3 jobs that are overlapping with a total of 9 being used. That is giving me this quantity available in my London depot. You can also see availability in other depots by distance too. So HireHop supports multi-depot, multi-site, as well as things like multi-currency to handle that full operation for that type of company. What we've added here though is next to the example light, you can see a little plus button. So if I click on that, we can also see a Gantt style view of all the jobs that are overlapping or showing in that period. So we can see how many are being used. We can see a different shading which displays the different dates. So outgoing, job start, job finish, returning are separated in these examples. This also allows you to scroll. So we're scrolling through time, so we don't have to jump in different ways. We can just scroll and find our availability for the dates we're interested in. There's also extra functionality here, like showing shortages for a period of time and much, much more. If I just go back to the previous screen, we can then continue from here. So you'll see a few more tabs on the home page. Reports are the next one along. There are many different reports which allow you to analyze the data you've put into HireHop in many different ways. So as an example, you'll see I've got some favorites at the top. Those are stored as a favorite just by clicking on that star symbol next to the report name, and that will save it as a favorite for that user. There's a toggle to show descriptions if you want a bit more information on those reports. But what you'll find is that you have really in-depth reporting on how things are being used, income, repairs, all different things that you might need. As an example, stock utilization report is extremely useful, as this will show you how you've utilized equipment over time, your most popular items, what capacity you've reached, all sorts of data that will help with procurement. You also have things like depreciation reports, so that's a full depreciation reporting based on your depreciation periods that you would have set up on your assets and their purchase dates, purchase prices, and so on. That can be combined with a valuation report, of course, to show your current valuation for insurance purposes and so on. And then there's a lot more. You've got job income, seeing all jobs, how much they've made, and so on. Asset status, which will give you a breakdown of all your assets, when they were last seen, and much more data, what's in repair, what needs a test and service coming up, and also additional really helpful reports such as a Carnet report for exporting goods, and many more reports that you can see here. These can be customized too, so if you need any custom reports created, please feel free to get in touch, but that's not a problem at all. The last 2 tabs along the homepage, pre-prep and stock check, are warehouse tools. So pre-prep, if we just jump to this, is a way of grouping products or assets together effectively. So these are particular cases. At the top I can see I've got one uplighter flight case with a barcode of 2902, and the warehouse have actually prepped inside that flight case 6 specific barcoded uplighters and a cable as well. So this means that with this barcode, these additional 7 barcodes are prepped. And the warehouse scanning this barcode onto a job will automatically allocate these 7 barcodes as well. There's no padlock indicated on this final column. This means that these are not permanent components of this flight case. That means when I allocate flight case 2902 to the job, all of these barcodes are allocated, but the association is then broken. It means though that you can actually re-prep the flight case on the check-in. The reason being is that in this scenario, these uplighters may not come back in the same case. So I need to make sure I prep it properly on the return. Or of course you can just check them in and prep it at a later date. But you do have that process where you can send out a pre-prep and re-prep it on the check-in. As well as that, you can do things like print box labels and other types of documents if you wish. So this will give you, on the pre-prep view, a full list of all the cases and their components that you've created. Finally, on this home page, this last tab here is a stock check. So within the warehouse, it's just a quick access so that you can say, okay, I want to start a new stock check for a particular product. You can just scan barcodes and begin a stock check that way. But let's say I want to start a new stock check for my uplighters that I just mentioned. I'll start a new one, let's say, and it will show me on the screen what should be in the warehouse on the shelf. So these barcodes, these uplighters are on the shelf, or should be. If they cannot be found, you can mark them as damaged or lost, or flag them in other ways. You can do this by scanning too. So simply scan through the barcodes. If everything is accounted for, this screen will go, it will complete the screen, and you will complete the stock check. If there are any missing, you can mark them as lost and so on. But it gives a really, really simple but powerful way for the warehouse to keep on top of their stock levels. If we now move on to some of the modules, as I said, you've got several modules available from the top right, or many different modules here. So hire, labour and sales are the first three that you'll see at the top of the screen. They differ in several ways. So hire stock, of course, rental products are expected to go out onto jobs and come back in. That differs to a sales item, which I'll go through shortly, but is broken it up into bulk and tracked products. But a sales item goes out onto a job and is not expected to be returned. And a labour product can be things like technicians, operators, delivering collections, things like that, but they're not physical products. They're not expected to be checked out or in at all. Let's start with hire stock so we can have a little look and see how these products are created. You'll have categories set up on the left-hand side, and if you select a particular category or multiple, it will isolate the products on the list that you can see here. This allows you to, of course, find products, and this is throughout the software. You can edit a product to view the information. You can create a new product from here, so a new stock item. As well as that, we have a new virtual item option, which is a very useful way of creating kits which don't exist, but come with other things. So you can create a virtual item and create auto pulls to build up a kit in this way. A new stock item, though, you will see the data that you can put in. The vast majority of these fields are not compulsory. You'll have the name and the category that are compulsory fields. Beyond that, you can input data such as a part number, descriptions, pricing, and importantly, the prices here, A, B, and C, can be customized too. You can have as many different price groups as you wish. So you might only have one, you might have 10. You can set those up. As well as that, you'll have different standard price structures, but you can create your own custom price structures as well with various formulas. Other information such as maximum discount that can be applied to the product type, the nominal group that would be set up in combination with your accounting software, things like the replacement cost, depreciation periods, whether it's straight line, declining balance, some of the years, that sort of thing. Weights, dimensions, test and service intervals, so you can set a year period or whatever it might be, and then track that through the software. Country of origin, HS code, really useful for carnets. And then also for scanning, you have the ability to specify whether the item is a box. And if it is, what happens on checkout? Does it open it or not? What happens on the check-in? And additional information too. 3 fields at the bottom, which may not make sense, but they're examples of custom fields. So throughout HireHop, you can create your own custom fields, which could be a numeric value, it could be a text value, but also it could be a drop-down list, a date, whatever you might want to include there. So here we have a product which has some data put into it already. We can see that, again, different columns. So in this depot, we have a total quantity of 10 that are in stock. Actually, there's another one in repair as well, but it's up to you which columns you decide to choose or display on this screen. That quantity of 10 is coming from the Assets tab. So what we will see here is the different assets that have been created for this product. We can create a new asset from here, which will be able to set a barcode, potentially a secondary barcode for RFID as well, serial number, a specific asset location. You did have a product location, which is the area within the warehouse that a product is normally stored, but this would be a specific asset location that you could put into. You've got purchase information, so that would obviously affect your depreciation, valuation, and other fields that you can complete if you wish. You can save and save multiple, so keep pressing save or save and close to just store one. But if you create more than one, a quantity of more than one, that will not be a barcoded or serialized asset, it will be a bulk quantity. With one, you got that barcode and secondary code will display serial number 2. You can tell the software also to generate a barcode and it will give it the next available number. You have other options here as well where you can, instead of doing that one by one, you can duplicate. So I might want 50 from the highest number. So that will generate another 50 barcodes for you. That is how stock and asset is viewed within HireHop and managed manually. Data can also be imported via import tool, or you can get in touch with the support team who can import that data for you. And we have actually built importers from most other rental software if you are exporting data. Very importantly, in combination with your products is what we call autopulls. So an autopull can be a component or an accessory, something like this, where we will see here as an example, I've set up a ratio of 6:1 for the selected uplighter in the flight case. This means that for every up to 6 uplighters, so 1:6, the software is going to pull one flight case. The chargeable button is not ticked, so it will not be an extra cost, but it will be a prompting option. It will alert me that that is added. You have no prompt options, compulsory options as well, but I will show you the difference later on. So here we've set up some products, we've got assets, and we actually have some autopulls as well. When you start to utilize your software, you will have the ability to track usage, so you can see every single job that a product's ever been allocated to, and as well as the reports that we mentioned earlier. You have asset income as well, so you'll be able to see what income a particular barcode has generated, and that is based on what assets have been allocated to jobs and what's been invoiced. And you can also create client prices as well. So if you have different clients that have different prices to your standard prices that you've actually set up on the product, you can specify for a particular customer, they get a different price. So there's a lot that you can tailor and customize from within HireStock management. In addition, from the menu, you'll see other things here as well. So you have the ability to set logging as well. So for example, if you're a generator hire company, you might set the generator hours to be recorded as you check in a product. You can clone a product, so duplicate an item, which can clone its autopulls as well. And you have other options here. So you can print and email stock lists. You can export a stock list too. There is also a report available for that from the homepage. You can also use this get data link as a way of exporting, for example, a CSV file of all your stock. The great benefit of this is it can be used as a way of updating data. So you can update information on that CSV file, re-import that data, mapping the ID to update the fields within HireHop. Great. Just a little thing to mention is that most things through HireHop, such as products, assets, jobs, projects, and so on, are not fully deleted if you were to delete them. That means I could delete a product and you have the ability to show deleted products, assets, jobs later on. So it keeps the history of everything there for you if you're looking back at previous jobs that had an old item on it and so on. This is HireStock management. Labour and sales are similar. So labour management, as I say, the next one down can be things like crew, delivery, and so on. These are just set up in a similar way, similar information, but obviously different fields. So name, alternative name, category are there, and the name and the category are compulsory. You have the ability to set no shortfall as well, which will not put any shortages for that labour on a job. However, you can also specify a transport setting here. So if I were to put in a delivery item, I could specify it as a delivery item in this way, which will push that through to the route planner. So only use those options if you want to use the route planner to plan your deliveries and collections, and other could be things like services and things like that. So they will link that labour product to the route planner. If you do not do this and you do not tick no shortfall, then that labour item can also be allocated either via a purchase order, or you can use resource allocation. So we'll look at the resource planner later, a little bit later, but you can allocate, for example, a lighting technician to a particular member of staff or a freelancer or someone in the crew. This is how that labour product's created. Different options here as well. you'll see similar tabs along the top, and you'll note task notes and files are throughout the whole software. Instead of labour management, we can also look at sales management as well. So sales stock I mentioned earlier is split in two ways. So you have the option to put in a bulk product and also a tracked product. A bulk product is utilised mostly for consumables. So the difference will be that when you're looking at a bulk product, such as these batteries, we have a quantity here of 50, that's recorded via a stock trail. So in and out, how many have been bought, how many have been sold or used on jobs. That's just a stock trail listing. So there's no assets or serial numbers recorded for those. The difference then is that if we have a look at, for example, this test item, you will see there is an assets tab and there are barcodes recorded for those. So a tracked item, which is indicated with a little circle next to it, will have an assets tab rather than a stock trail, and it allows you to put your serial numbers and barcodes in for proper sales tracking. Depends what type of product you're doing, but you have the opportunity to utilize both of those. If we carry on down these modules, depot management, of course, setting up your depots, basic information like addresses and things like that, and default currencies. Address book is in there too, so you have the ability to see all of your contacts and companies. They can be filtered in lots of ways. If we run a search here as well, so we can see I've got, for example, BBC, but I've got 3 contacts within that same company here. I have the ability to add a company, add a contact to an existing company. Also within trading management, you can edit things like the credit period, credit limit, if they're VAT registered or not, accounts payable and receivable, email and invoice addresses and things like that too. So you have the ability to set up your companies as you wish. For those users that are integrating with an accounting package, the best way to manage your address book is to actually sync that through from that accounting software. That means that all that address book will come through. You can of course manage it and not include certain contacts, but the ID will be automatically imported from that synchronization. That means that when you start to generate invoices or transactions within HireHop, that will automatically flow through to the correct customer or supplier in your accounting software. Furthermore, you've got package management. So we're going to come to the job creation shortly. Packages are a way of creating automatic packages that can be added to any job. So they're effectively built in the same way as you would build a kit list on a job. So you have the option to add items, headings, and everything that you might want to include in a package or a job. But these are created from this module. So for example, you've got auto add, and the reason I've specified auto add, which only has 2 headings in it, is that I've set that to be a default package for all job types. This means that when I create a job, any job, it will automatically include those 2 headings. The reason for this is some of our users found it very helpful that when you create a job, there's automatically a load of kit included onto that job if that was always the case. But that can be done per type of job as well. So for example, this is a sound system. I could set that to a particular job type, meaning that this package is inserted for that job type. And this is a sound system that includes various items, which also have auto pulls. Further to the packages, you've got a purchase order module. That purchase order module is a way of displaying all your purchase orders and finding them. But as well as that, you can create a new global purchase orders from here as well. So a global PO differs to a job PO in that it is for the whole company. So for instance, if I'm doing a sub-hire of uplighters for the months of July and August, because I'm very busy then, that will increase my availability for the whole company for that period. Whereas if I did it on a purchase order on a job for uplighters, they would be ring-fenced to that job alone. You'll notice an option for an internal hire. If you have multiple depots and are doing transfers between those depots, you can create internal hires which will affect your availability accordingly across those depots. So if I'm in London and I'm bringing equipment in from Manchester, I might create an internal hire so I know that the transport can be booked for that. the movement is known in both depots, and those assets that are sent from Manchester to London can then also be used on the jobs required in the London depot too. Again, we'll come to purchase orders a little bit later when we create the job, and you'll see further modules within this burger menu, and we're going to come to those as they come up in the job process. But route planning with a driver app, you've got a warehouse schedule, maintenance for servicing, repairs, scanning, also jumping to recent jobs and projects from here too. So there's a lot of different information and modules that you can access from this screen. However, for now, what we're going to do is create a new job. So new jobs can be created on the homepage from this new job button. You'll see there's a new project button too. So just to explain the difference here, a project has no equipment list of its own, but is a way of grouping multiple jobs together. So for instance, if you are doing a very large event and have different sections of that event, you may create one project and have multiple jobs. The jobs can be for the same client or for different clients. So that completely depends on the type of company that you are and the workflows that you would use. Of course, get in touch if you have any questions on anything we're looking at today. Creating a new job, as I say, click on that new job button. What you will see on this job is the fields that you can put into the job here. So a contact name is the only compulsory field currently, but I can search for a contact or a company or type in a new one, add that contact to the address book. Just something to note here is that every single thing in HireHop, it's very, very granular, is permission based. So for example, I have the permission to put in a new contact and add them to the address book. However, you may set certain users that they can only add contacts that are already in the address book. Things like this can be set up as an individual user or for a group of people, but it just means that you can specify the permissions as you see fit. What I'm going to do is search for a company that will give me my options from my address book in terms of clients, and I can just put this example of a customer in here. Job types, we can have a drop-down list. They're set up in the settings as well, which we'll come to later. As an example here, I've got dry hire, event hire, sales. They're just different options. You can link job types to different dates, which you can store. Those can be set up manually. We have 4 standard dates. As well as that, as mentioned before, job types can be linked to packages by default, but they're really useful for reporting, searching, and analysis of job data later on. Deliver to, so this is going to be the site, the venue, the delivery address, and you can search again your address book for delivery addresses, and you can choose one if you have one in there. There are 2 other options, so you can have different collection and use at addresses. Again, all of these are fields, so they can be put onto document templates and so on, but you will see that that data can be stored from here. Goods out and in, whether you usually deliver, collect, again, the defaults can be set up, but this allows you to have a flag of what is happening with the equipment in this particular job. And we then have 4 dates. Outgoing to returning are the dates that affect availability within HireHop. Start to finish affects the charge period. So this means that I can unlink the top and bottom, the outgoing and job start dates. I could say that I'm affecting availability from this morning, but actually the job doesn't start till tomorrow at 9. Similarly, I can unlink the finish and returning dates. That can be default option as well. And you'll notice next to that there's an infinity symbol if you wish to remove those dates completely if you're doing an open-ended job. However, in the scenario that you do have an end date, I may set Thursday at 5 p.m. to be the finish date, but equipment available again may not be, say, till 10 a.m. on Friday. That means we're affecting availability from Thursday the 9th to Friday the 17th at those times, but the charge period is Friday morning to Thursday afternoon, which is a 7-day charge. You can override that charge period. You can lock it if you want to prevent the number of days charged being changed, even if the dates change. Up to you. Memo for any notes. Client reference, if you have a PO number, that's the best place to put that in. That follows through to invoicing too. Different clients can get a different default discount, different price group automatically, but you can adjust that here. And for the job name, let's put in HireHop demonstration. Price structures, I've just got a 7-day week assigned here, but you can have different standard price structures such as a 3-day week or a 2-day week or what you might want to use, but again, they're customizable. Pressing save, that's going to create the new job. So it's, for me, created in a new tab, again, a user setting that you can set up, but it's created this inquiry, you'll see on the top right, created by myself, and I'm the manager. I can assign it to more than one manager or adjust the manager for the job if needed. And I can edit this job where applicable to adjust the dates or information that I need to include. Again, this is all user-based, user permission-based. There are various tabs along the top of this job. You'll notice tasks and notes, which we mentioned before, but you can create them from here, and that will be assigned to one or multiple users, things that they need to do. Incidentally, a task that is due or overdue will pop up on the user's homepage when they log in, so they can see what tasks they've got coming up. Files, you can upload a file or link or simply drag and drop it onto the screen. So the idea is that the job incorporates everything that you need it to do, and it can store files too, so you can access any data that you wish from anywhere. So it could be a floor plan, a user manual that you want to put in there, images from the event or the particular job, or equipment even as well. So any file you wish to store can all be grouped into here. Some users will upload a link to Google Drive or OneDrive or something like that, which is for this particular job too. However, it's the next tab along, supplying, where we're going to build up the items or products that we require for this particular job. What you'll notice is that there are those two headings that have automatically been added. That's the link to the packages I mentioned before. You can leave them in there and add jobs from this. If you don't actually want them on this job, we can actually delete the headings and start off with a blank job, which would what would happen on a new account. And from here, when we click on new, we're going to see different options that we can include into the job. Starting actually from the bottom, importing data. So if you have an Excel or a CSV file, you'll be able to import data into the software, into the particular job. It will look at your name of items or potentially part numbers to match to product data that you've stored in the software. So it's just a useful way to do a very quick import rather than manually entering items. You can put in products from part numbers, put barcodes or scan barcodes into the job directly from the screen. Insert a package, which is where we have those packages set up as before. So that was the auto add, which was automatically added, which was those two headings. But we could always delete, add it back if you need to. But what you may begin is to start with add listed items. This is a list view of all your sales, hire, and labour products that have been stored in HireHop. Again, you can choose the columns that you see here by clicking on that settings icon and adjusting the columns that you're interested in. Filtering by category will allow you to see how many are available for your jobs in that particular category. So there's 4 products in LED lighting category. I can see the cost of those, how many are available for each one. So this example light has 1 available. Clicking on that, I can see the reason is that we are using 9. We only have 10, therefore 1 is available. We can see that the uplighters though, we have got 10 of. So I will either type in a number, you can use the arrows, or you can actually left click on the name of the product to increase it by 1, right click to decrease it as well. There's uplighters there that I'm going to include. I'm actually also going to include a delivery for now on this job, a delivery charge, which is linked to the route planner in my example. And I'm also going to put in a lighting technician, which is a labour product, which I can allocate a resource to. Saving this, anything that you included or ticked there will be stored and saved onto that supplying tab. Anything that has an auto pull will prompt if the auto pull was set to the prompt level. So in this scenario, we've added 6 uplighters. I've set 1 flight case and 1 cable to be added at this point at no cost, so 6:1 ratio. We also have an optional chargeable extra as well, so you can set up those unselected prompts if needed. When you store that, when you save that, the auto pulls will be visible just underneath the parent, so they're grouped together. Editing a product, we can adjust the base price, unit, discount, total. You can add notes and memos per product too. A note displays on screen, a memo can be bigger, but all of them are fields that can be pushed onto documents as well. you can actually set the dates different to the job. So the job was set for a 7-day charge, but if I wanted to, I could actually say that the uplighters are not actually needed for the full 7 days. The end date will be Monday at a certain time. That will adjust the charge period. I can also adjust the outgoing returning dates as well if I want to affect availability differently. But if I'm just interested in the charge to be different, I can set those start and end dates if I needed, or as I say, adjust the prices as you wish. We can manually add in headings here. So I could put in a heading, for example, of lighting, and I can drag and drop items into that heading. I might also create a new heading for labour and transport. What you'll notice is there is the option for heading templates, so you can set up headings that are stored that you can then add via a template onto the job. But for now, labour and transport, I can select one or multiple items, and I can drag and drop as well. So here I've got 2 headings, but this is just a single sort of tree. If I wanted to do something different, I could have another heading. It could be area 1, and I can store that. I've just put it within lighting, but what I might do is actually move that around. So I can have headings within headings to split the list up as needed. This allows you also to right-click, apply discount to selected products. I've selected the products with a price there, but if I included sales and labour and then to selected only, you'll notice that I'm only discounting those selected products. So when you apply a discount, you'll have different options. You can also click on the quoted net total on the bottom right, and you'll have the ability to set that total price that way too. As we build up that supplying list, the replacement cost, the weight, the volume, and the discount and totals are automatically updating. From that new button too, you'll notice a new custom item, so that's a free text item you can put in. And there's also the ability to insert a comment, which is a line without a price, and a calculated item, which is a percentage of the total price. Some clients would use that for insurance, damage waiver purposes, but it adds an extra percentage to the job total. You'll notice again task notes and files throughout the software. They're consistently there. But if we go back to that job tab, we have the ability to email and print from here. It can be done from any of the menus too. So you've got print and email, and in fact, export to Excel is available from that menu as well. But you have the ability to email, and that will be an integrated email integration with your own email provider. So that will be set up for each user. It could, for example, be Google, Microsoft 365. There are integrations already there. And of course, that also allows for single sign-on too. But when we send out an email, we can merge and we can include one of the example or one of the documents you have potentially as a PDF and effectively attach that via the merge button, and we can send out the quote directly to the customer this way. The attach button is there too to allow you to attach other files from your desktop. When you go to print, you'll have a lot of different document options or the actual document templates you've chosen to keep there. So you can customize documents fully via the document settings page. There's a visual editor, but it can also be adjusted with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So as an example, if I go to print here and look at a very standard basic quote, opening it in a new tab instead of a PDF, you can see the basic information of the customer, the delivery location, the products, and the layout that we chose to put those in. So this is a template which can be designed as you wish and can be stored as a PDF and sent as a PDF. As an example, if I go to my other screen, this is an example of a custom document designed by one of our clients, where you'll see it has various front pages, which can be done as a stationary upload. So you can put in PDF of a few front pages of examples of what you do. And then following this, the actual quote begins with data pulling from HireHop, such as the dates, headings, the items, and so on. So this is an example quote. The header and footer are following through, and this populates from HireHop with here, crew and transport at the end, total, terms and conditions, and so on. So that's just to show you that the design of the templates can be completely changed, and it's up to you how you wish to do that. You can do it yourselves. You can ask us for help. It's not a problem. When you send out a quote, there are ways to automate this, but if we have a look from that supplying tab menu, there's the option to save and archive. A very, very useful feature because this stores an exact copy of the supplying list on that archive tab. I can have as many versions as I wish on here. I can rename them, but it means that if your client goes through many different quote stages, quote versions, I can always restore back to a previous archive. If I want to go back to, for example, this was version 1, I might want to restore back to version 1, or I can actually copy and paste elements from this. If needed, I don't need to adjust that supply list. If they would like to have a look at a previous archive again, you can actually print an email from this view as well. Finally, in this respect, we also have a certified e-sign feature, extremely useful, included in the subscription, but it allows you to send documents for digital signature. So that will be sent to the client's email address for digital signature. It could be a quote that they can accept, and actually that there are settings that allow that to book the job and so on. It could be a hire agreement, a delivery note, things like that, but it will be the way of emailing that document template over. The fields in that document will allow them to sign. It will capture the signature date and time and so on, but it also stamps that, so it's certified in IP addresses, so locations, and so on. So certified e-sign, again, any questions, you can sign up for that or have a look at our blog post on the e-sign. It will give you a lot more information on that. At this point, the inquiry is here, but it's still an inquiry. So if we're booking the job, if that wasn't automatically triggered by an e-sign confirmation, we can change the status to provisional. That will pencil it in and affect availability. Or I could book that job, that will mark that as booked and affects availability from this point. I just wanted to mention here that actually availability in HireHop actually can work in one of two ways. Standard availability is that if I were to book 6 of a product, in this case I have booked 6 uplighters, we have 4 remaining, and another member of staff were to book another 6, for example, that's a total of 12. It would give me a shortage of 2 because I only have 4 remaining available. HireHop offers another way of utilising availability, which is a prioritised way. So in that scenario, the person to book their job first would have availability. So this job, for example, would have 6, and that would be ring fenced to that job. The next person to book, say 6, would have a shortage of 2. So that would be pushed to the person booking afterwards. So they do not have priority. However, that job may be a lot longer. So what is able to do, if you have permission, is actually override the hierarchy of those jobs and actually give permission to the job that is longer and more profitable. So you have that view again. That's a company option. So the company settings, you can set that up, specify whether you use the standard way or the prioritized availability. From here, as I say, we've got a book job, but on that supplying tab, we've got a couple of labour items that might need some addressing. So here we've got a shortage. Lighting technician is showing with a -1. When I mentioned in the labour management, we spoke about linking products to the route planner, which I haven't done for this product, and it's not set to no shortfall. That means that I need to do something with this. That could be done via a purchase order. So I could actually create a purchase order and allocate the shortage to it. Or I might want to allocate a technician to that. So that can be done as well. In a similar way, the delivery is now linked to the route planner, meaning whoever's in charge of transport will be able to allocate that delivery to the correct vehicle and driver for the right run. If you have any other shortages, then you would be able to link that to a purchase order too. So if we just create a new custom item, I'll call it test for the moment and give it a rough price. So I'm just going to save that and move it into this lighting heading too. That is showing as a shortage because it is a custom item. I could tick no shortfall, but in this scenario, what I'll do is create a new purchase order. So if I go to create a new purchase order, we mentioned internal hires as well, but I can create a new purchase order. Here I can choose my supplier from the address book. You'll see in the accounts package, that is the account package that this particular depot is linked to. Uniquely within HireHop, if you do have multiple depots and those depots use multiple accounting packages, you have the ability to integrate to multiple accounting packages from the one HireHop instance. But in this scenario, we are linked to this demo package. This is my supplier for the job. It's been set as do not include VAT as a default, but I'm going to deselect that for now. And I'm going to save that as the PO, acknowledging that those are the job dates and I'm happy with those. I can then click on the plus button, assign items here, and I have the ability to assign any shortfall, or I can untick shortfall only and include anything that isn't in a shortage if I do want to put that into the PO too. The lighting technician is showing a cost because that was set up as an estimated cost. This test item was a custom item with no estimated cost, so I'm just going to put in a price for that and press save. That's put in the draft PO with an item with a cost. If I'm happy with it, I can approve that PO, generate a new number, and potentially sync to an accounting software. That means by doing this, the cost is associated to the job. On that supplying tab, this particular product is no longer in a shortage. We can display cost margin columns if we wanted to add those columns onto the screen. And when you do allocate costs to your jobs, from the job menu, you also have the ability to view a profit and margins screen, which will show you your revenue, costs, which are split into approved, unapproved, and estimated, and then your actual profit and margins, either by item type or as a total. There is another toggle where if you utilize different nominal codes and groups, you can actually view your revenue split between those nominals. So that purchase order has covered that product. If we want to cover the lighting technician via resource allocation, I could go to the resource management section. So in resource management, this is a tool where we can set up resources, they're people, potentially, and those resources can have skills which are your labour products. You can link them to a user to get the details, contact information. You might have certifications that you want to store and manage, which can be put in there too. And once those are set up, you'll have a planner view. So there's an advanced view and a standard view. On the standard view, we're going to see what labour items are required and unassigned. This is our demonstration job that required a lighting technician. I didn't specify the dates for that technician, so it's showing the full job dates. Of course, if you go back into the job, edit the item, any item, you can adjust the start and end date here. So that would then affect how big that allocation is required for that technician. The advanced view is just showing you a list of jobs, and you can see the different requirements and allocations from here. But let's just use the standard view here, which means I can drag and drop. Anyone without the skills, grayed out. Dan has got the skill, let's assign that resource to that job. We can see that here. We could see it on the advanced view as well, but what that means is on the job, we will have no shortage on that particular product anymore. And if we look at the purchase order tab, actually, what we'll be able to do is see that Dan has been allocated as the technician on this job. In the resource allocation module, you will actually be able to give an iCal link to the resource, print and email documents for that particular user too. So you can actually give them the allocations that they have and give them that data. So we've removed all the shortages on this job. So we're nearly ready to move forward. Just before we do go into scanning and warehouse management, I will show you what the route planner looks like. So as the warehouse are getting ready to prep and scan this, transport manager might have a look at the route planner, and actually today we haven't got anything, but if I have a look at tomorrow, we'll see that there is a delivery for our demonstration job, and that delivery is for the Claridge's Hotel. What we can do here is geolocate, so we can locate the delivery address on the map, and it's an integration here with Google Maps. You can see your depot location on the screen as well, and of course if you have multiple depots too. But what I'm going to do here is create a new vehicle or route. So we're going to call this the van. This will be the registration plate of that van. It might have a weight limit, which you can put in too, and I'm going to specify that to be a delivery for tomorrow. I can assign the driver, so I'll assign it to myself, but you can assign other people to that delivery or vehicle route as you wish, so you can have a total of 3 people allocated. If I save that, that's created the van, and I can then drag and drop as many deliveries, collections and other services to the vehicle for that day, and you can order that in the way that you want. So you can create that scheduling and that route. If you want to, what you can do is plan the directions, which will use the Google API to plan the best directions there and back. You can have a look at the rough time estimated to get there. But what you'll be able to do as well is open that in Google Maps when you're utilizing the driver app. So as a transport manager, I've made that assignment to the relevant driver. On the correct day, the driver will be able to go to the driver app. Today, I've got nothing. However, tomorrow, this is my route. And when I am doing that delivery run, I can add photos and signatures to complete it. I can view the info, so what's on the job, open the job up. The location will be automatically sent. So that means you'll be able to see the location of your drivers on the map at any given time as well. But importantly, the driver also has an integration with Google Maps. So for the actual location or for the total route, you can open in Google Maps. And of course, on a phone or a tablet, this will open the app. So that gives you a really useful tool, not only to manage resources, but also vehicles, deliveries, and routes. Going back to this job, the job status is still at booked. There are views, of course, on the homepage for jobs that are due out. So you've got the calendar views as well. But a lot of people also utilize our warehouse schedule. So the warehouse schedule shows you day by day what's going out and what's coming back in. That can be filtered also in different ways, so you can specify what you want to see on that particular schedule. So here we've got our job that's going out that we need to prepare. I can hover over to see more information. I can double click, that will open the job up. You can also actually jump to scanning from this barcode symbol as well. But a really useful tool here too is that you can get a shareable link. So that is a link you can copy, and you can put that up on a smart TV or any screen that you wish, and it reloads itself every few minutes. So it's a live view of what's going out and what's coming in. If you have an outgoing area within the warehouse, I might not want to see what's coming in, so I can actually specify just outgoing, things like that. These can also be customized really via the API. So if you wanted to create your own schedule or sort of tweak this, the API can be used to pull and display information as you wish. From the job menu, you also have the ability to check the job out and in. So that gives you that ability directly on the job. However, HireHop also has a scanning app. So this is an adaptive web app that can be used on any device. You'll see there's a lot more functionality within this. So we spoke about the stock check earlier. You have the ability to run it from here too. For a job, there's a two-step checkout process. If you wish, you can prep a job, mark it as prepped, and then scan it out via checkout as a second scan. If you do this and prep jobs into boxes, actually only the boxes will need to be scanned on the checkout. So it simplifies that process. On the check-in, you have a check-in, check job in. You have a check scan as well, which gives you the ability to do multiple scans at any given time. So it could be used for a two-step check-in if I'm scanning onto the truck as a check scan, scanning it back in the warehouse as a check-in. But if you have a lot of jobs returned all at once, a check all-in window will allow you to scan any job any asset from any job as you wish. We have similar options for a project too. So a project may be a combination of two jobs. It could be a few hundred jobs, but you can actually run the check-in screen for a whole project and have it all in that one view. So you can utilize it from this module, and this can be used on any device. It could be a laptop, computer, a tablet, or a phone as well, using a camera, but also very commonly PDA scanners. So something like a Zebra TC series is very commonly used with this app, and you can utilize that too. Obviously for this example, we're using a web browser on a computer, and from the job, let's go to the menu and check the job out. So we can do that from any of those locations I've mentioned. Going to check the job out, what we're going to see here is all the products that need to go onto this job. This is the group standard view. This is the default, which is grouped by category. You have got a list view, just alphabetical, and a tree view, which actually is very useful because it displays the products in the headings that they were put into. That means that if you have, for example, uplighters in multiple sections that you're prepping separately, you can do that and allocate to those particular parts of the tree. Let's just keep it on the group view for now. Where you don't have barcodes, we can select a product and do a no-code check potentially. No code, no barcode. We're just saying that yes, that particular test product is allocated. We've checked it out. If you actually got bulk barcodes for some rental app products, for example, you could scan a bulk barcode, not an asset barcode, to identify the product. That disappears. I can untick high completed to see what I've done. And it goes into the log with the date and time and the user who's done that. If I want to carry on scanning, if in this example we had a flight case which was prepped with 6 uplighters and a cable. This was already done on the homepage, so we have a pre-prep here which was 2902. So if I were to scan 2902, that's going to allocate not only the case but also the uplighters that were within it. So that's actually finished the dispatch of the job because that was all the remaining products. Again, I can untick high completed. We can have a double click on a product, see what was checked out, what box they were in, see what was checked in or not checked in later on. We can also toggle here to see categories, so you might want to filter on the checkout by category and also display what boxes were checked out, view what's in them, remove things from a box, print box labels. So there's a lot of things that you can do here. If you've not done a pre-prep, don't worry, you can actually check out into boxes directly on the checkout screen as well. Checkout screens are live screens, so they're live between multiple users. That means if you have multiple warehouse staff with different devices, as they're checking out the same job, everything they do will be communicated live across those different devices. By doing this, the job would go to part dispatched and then dispatched in this case because we've completed that. The pre-prep I mentioned is no longer there because it was temporary. That means that that association is lost, although it's stored on the job, of course, but we can recreate the pre-prep on the return of the job if needed. So anything that's gone out can come back in. So if we go to check the job back in, we'll see everything that's gone out and we can return it. So if I do a no-code check, again on the test item, I've returned that. And as I say, if I scan the flight case, I've set that to open, meaning what I next scan into that case, 2921, 2922, that will be barcodes going back into that case. And as I say, live availability through HireHop. So this job is now returned incomplete. If we have a look at the pre-prep actually, if we refresh this, the 2902 is repopulated here, but currently only with 2 assets because I've not finished checking in. And if we do have a look at availability for the uplighters that we've been checking out, we can see now availability of 6 and then 10 from Saturday. The reason it's 6 and not 4 is because 4 are now on the job. This means our job only has 4 left on it. So if I continue the return and let's scan another couple of barcodes, this means that the job continues to be returning complete. If we have a look at this uplighters again, this is now up to 8 with only 2 remaining on the job. But you'll notice that the pre-prep has another 2 assets in there. So it's all communicated live through the software and that availability is live. So it's momentary. It's not a half day, it's not hourly, it's not daily, it's exactly live as you do this. If something's damaged or lost as well, we can mark that as such. So what we'll do is check in 2925 back into that case. We're going to close the case here. In fact, I'll open it again and check into the cable to that case. But what I'm going to do is specify something as being damaged. So I'm going to say the next scan is damaged and I can scan 2926, which is the last remaining uplighter. If you prefer, or if you had a lost item, let's say, I can see what was not checked in and I can mark it as lost as well. So you can do that this way, but also you can use the drop down. So damaged, I'm going to say 2926 is damaged. This means that the job is returned. It's taken care of, right? There is a damage on there, but what that means is if I reload this job, anyone accessing the job is going to see a big pop-up saying what was damaged. Okay, that can be manually created within the job too. And actually on the supplying tab, we've got a new extras heading with the damage and the replacement value if that needs to be invoiced. So that's all handled automatically. Back on the home screen, the pre-prep now has these assets in there. The availability is going to be up to 9 because we now have an additional asset in repair. So we've put that 2926 directly into repair, so we can repair it later on. The job is returned. Of course, how you invoice this depends on the process within the company. You can invoice it at any time, but if I go to the billing tab, I have the ability to create a new invoice from here. There is a new deposit feature too, so this is a way of actually taking a deposit payment. It's not an invoice. If you require an invoice for a deposit, you would still create a new invoice, but a deposit is a way of creating a deposit payment. That payment could be allocated to pay off an invoice later. If I create a new invoice, you'll see that client reference is pulled through. I can put in descriptions and memos, but you don't need to. Also, you have things like the dimension set, which is a tracking category that you can put through. But invoice up to gives you the ability to set an up to date for invoicing. HireHop allows you to do ongoing billing on jobs, so you can have as many invoices per job as you wish if the job's long term or open ended. Invoice it up to the end of the month and carry that on. You also have the ability to invoice via batch invoicing, which is over here. There you can invoice up to a particular date and issue multiple invoices at once, email them all at once and sync them all to your accounting package at once as well. So if you do a lot of ongoing jobs, issue all your invoices to the end of the month. That can all be done with a few clicks from batch invoicing. However, for this particular job, I'm going to create a new invoice. I'm going to say include all owing items. That's my default. There is an aggregated option just to say that is a way of aggregating by nominal code. So if you want to, instead of invoice every line item, invoice based on the nominal codes that you've set up, so have far fewer rows, you are able to aggregate that invoice. It will still allocate the revenue invoiced to particular products. But for now, include all owing items I'll save. That's put all the products with a price into that invoice. If I'm happy with it, that draft I can change to approved from the menu, and that will give it a new number, again, integrating with an accounting software if you wanted to. From HireHop, you can, of course, print and email not only the invoice, but deposits, credit notes as well. And on the purchase order side, of course, you could print and email purchase orders, which I hadn't shown you previously. But the print and email options will give you the ability to do that. If you require linking to as an e-invoice, you have the ability to download that file there for e-invoicing if you're in the EU or potentially in the UK down the line. So that job is now returned. We've invoiced it, purchase order's been, we've gone through a good workflow on that job there. You'll see at the bottom of the screen a few little buttons which we haven't looked at in too much detail. If this job was part of a project, it would show here, but you can click on that to include it in a project, or from the menu we can add it to a project or remove it from a project too. You have the pop-up, which we spoke about. You can manually create that. Really useful to flag information onto the screen, so nothing else can be done unless that pop-up is acknowledged as well. In your depot, you'll have a default currency, but if you subscribe to it, you can have multiple currencies. That's not just per job and depot, but also for each transaction. So every invoice, purchase order, and so on can have different currencies as well. Any emails you've sent will be stored in the email tab of the job, and you will be able to store a schedule if you want to create your own schedule on the job too. You'll see within the menu different options here as well. We can track the transport, clone jobs, really important. So if you're doing the same job again, you don't need to start from the beginning. We can clone that job, cloning the supplying tab, so we can actually clone obviously the kit list, but also we might want to clone task notes and other things. And where it says clone using current prices, that will update your prices on the job. So if the job was a year or 2 years ago and the prices have all gone up, using this option will increase the cost for those products. And of course, the name of the job, what it's going to be, and the new date for the new job. Just to say as well, instead of cloning, you could copy and then paste as source, exactly as it was copied, or as current, updating the prices. Lastly, from that menu, you've got the way to lock a job, so you can prevent certain users accessing it. And there is a history log throughout the whole software, which shows you what you've done, who's done it, and when. So a full log, a full tracking history of what's happened. that goes through a job workflow. Any questions that you have, anything that I've missed out, of course, you can feel free to contact our great support team and they'll be happy to assist you with that. Any other questions, let us know. Just to say as well, on every page you'll see a little help button. Depending where you are, it'll give you a lot of information and videos, shorter videos on different modules. So this is that job. If that is taken care of, the best thing when it's completely taken care of and finished is to mark that job as completed. That removes that job from an active job search, but it's still a job that can be found later on down the line. Just going back to the home page, the last thing to show you through for the moment is settings. So we've gone through things and I've mentioned things like permissions and documents. They're all taken care of from within the settings module. Your settings are for an individual user where you can set scanning sounds if you have permission, setting your homepage tiles. So as I say, favorite searches or any of the standard searches can be put in the order that you choose. You'll have a way to specify your personal information, things like the depot you're in, the theme. So dark mode, you may have noticed on the other site that I was on earlier, but you can set that all up and it'll enable by default options. So using lists to select categories and things like that. Email accounts. So my email account is an integration with Google, and that also means I can use my single sign-on for that, as long as your email that you set up in HireHop is your Google or 365 email address. But of course you can set up a new email account with your server, so using an SMTP and IMAP, or utilize Google 365 or Exchange as well. The rest of the modules that you'll see here need to be accessed in admin mode. So administrators can click on their name on the top right, where you also see your company and depot. You'll be able to go into admin mode, which will flag up in red because you should not stay in admin mode for longer than you need to. And you will see different tabs that you can now access. For a monthly subscription, you can edit that and manage that from here. So I'm already subscribed on this test account, but on an annual basis, but I can edit the subscription if I was on a monthly, and you would be able to choose the number of users, if you require multi-currency or not, and put your card details in. For an annual or an enterprise subscription, please get in touch with us and we can discuss that further. Documents we spoke about earlier, so lots of different padlocked ones here, which are templates. Any template that you've got on here, such as a quote, can be edited, and you'll see that this is the basic information, that the visual kind of layout of that document. This means from this view I can remove text if I want to, I can edit a field or remove particular fields, I can double click here to choose a different one, but more powerfully within the source is where we can add and amend HTML, JavaScript as well, and CSS at the top too. So this is where you can amend all of that information. Really powerful. It builds like a web page and converts to PDF. On top of that, as I mentioned earlier, you can overlay those documents onto stationery. So you can have headers and footers and things like that. Anything with a padlock that you amend will create a non-padlocked template. So you will have the opportunity to have as many or as few documents as you wish. You can always remove a padlock template and you'll be able to find it again. Clicking on new is where all the templates are stored, so you can always find them again and have a look through this list because there may be other documents that you don't have on your software. Company settings. There's a lot of information within here. So let's just start with the basics. Your company name, of course, which would have been set up on the setup of the account. Putting your logo into the company settings is very important. Not only will it display on the top left of your page so you know it's your account, but it will appear on all your document templates by default. You've got your default price structures, default job start time, duration. For the company, default currency as well. Default status of a job, so whether actually the job goes to booked by default or inquiry, which is mine. Things like the next job number, project number. We mentioned earlier priority, so prioritize items, is that on for the company, if it is or if it isn't. HireHop also has many integrations, so as an example I have an integration with Stripe, but I've not set it up, but it means that I can put my Stripe keys into here and you can put payment links onto invoices. So that's another example of an integration. On top of that, we have integrations with accounting software, which can be managed via the accounting tab, which we'll come to, but also integrations with crewing software like TeamTrack and CrewBrain, pat testers and pat test software too. So there's a lot of different software that HireHop can integrate with. On top of that, we have our open API, which means that we can completely integrate with anything that you need, right? And you can make those changes yourselves if needed. When scanning, there's options to verify a test or service as well. So I could confirm or prevent. That means that if I scan something that has expired, a pat test is expired, I could get a warning or it could prevent it going out. So you have those additional warehouse features too. Other things like allowing extras, charging for additional items scanned. There's a lot of different options that you can have a look through here. Boxes must be predefined is what I had set up, so I couldn't scan as a box something that wasn't identified as a box. And if you do have multiple depots, other features such as checking into the user's depot. So if things are fluid, you can set that up too. At the top, you're going to see other options. So you're setting up your price structures, your price groups as well. That means you can have as many or as few prices as you wish. Job types, create your drop-down list of types of job from here. Drop-down, very useful, so they're consistent. Webhooks, so HireHop obviously has the API, but also webhooks, which can be managed from here to manage various integrations or automations for yourselves. HireHop has custom fields as well. So in many parts of the software, you can store custom fields. So if I wanted to create a new custom field for the job, I would select job, click on new, create a new custom field, which can be any of these types. It could be a text box, money, yes or no, so a tick box, a select or a multi-select, date fields and so on. So you have many different options, custom fields that you can store. Jobs can have extra dates, as I mentioned earlier on. And we also have these two integrations, which is Webshop. You can integrate using WordPress or WooCommerce plugin, or utilize your own HireHop.rent webshop as well. So linking your products to your site or to a HireHop site that allows your customers to create a checkout workflow. Put it into a cart, request a quote, creates the job automatically and gives you an alert for that too. So that's a nice way of generating business to your account via that free integration. And the sign is a free module, which you can set up some of the defaults from here too. Accounting integrations, we have many and more coming as well. So you'll see a list here. So we've got Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, 50 and Business Cloud, Free Agent, Business Central and Exact currently, but others such as Intact, MYOB, and others are coming very shortly. The process is to sync it through here. There are separate videos on integration with things like Xero and QuickBooks. Any questions on that is very straightforward, but please get in touch. The last few tabs on here, so language, every single word in HireHop is here. If you don't like the status value of booked, I can type over that to confirmed, and that will override all the language where that is written. So you can change the wording as you wish. This is for the whole company. If your users speak different languages in your settings, you can change the language of the individual user. We have about 20 or so languages currently available. On the Users tab, this is where you can create and manage your users. You may have enabled but potentially disabled users that you can enable or review later on. Creating a user, very straightforward, their information, but you can set them to roles or specific permissions to an individual. So for example, my user here is not set to a role. That means from the menu, I can set up user permissions. So these are specific to me. What can I and can't I do throughout the whole software? Very granular. Otherwise, you can set user role permissions, which will allow you to set a group of permissions, and you can set that up and allocate those to particular people. For further security, if you wanted to, you can limit users to a particular IP address and put that in if you wish to do that. Finally, all files, it just shows you every file ever stored if you want to manage your data. And import data is a very useful tool for importing test and service data. Also, you can import things like stock, assets, consumables, and address book data. Please get in touch with support if you are looking to migrate data either from just an Excel file or from an existing software package that you are using. We have conversion tools for many of those. So please get in touch and we can help you with your import and get it done in no time. So those settings will give you that access and way to customize HireHop directly through that interface gives you that additional information. Managing your assets beyond that, we've gone through a good workflow of looking at the different modules. There are some that we haven't actually touched upon today, such as the EPOS, which is a simplified view for like a till view pretty much, and the maintenance module, which will give the ability for technicians to track services and repairs. In fact, if we just go into that very quickly, what we'll see is anything active, this is a repair assigned to myself, but I can see what damaged assets I have, and I could start a repair from here and manage that from here, but it may not be completed, it may be ongoing, and I can assign that to people. You can see all tests and services that have expired or haven't been recorded at all, and tasks assigned to assets too. So maintenance gives you a nice way to track that, but based on your assets that you've been using and scanning, this uplighter, for example, was damaged on the job we created. So what I am able to do is log that new repair. If I am repairing it, let's say, let's just say that that was done. I have a couple of compulsory fields that I've created and the description. So repaired X, Y, and Z. By logging that repair, it will effectively move that asset back to stock, and that's no longer required for repair. So that can be done through the maintenance module, but if we just quickly jump back to hire stock, we will be able to have a look at our uplighters, and we can see that the asset, which was previously in repair, which was 2906, is back in stock. If you prefer, you can edit an asset this way, change it to back in stock, or actually we can go to the assets page and look at all historical tests and services and log a repair or a test and service from here too. So lots of different things you can do. There's a lot that I haven't covered, but hopefully that's given you all a good overview of the software, how it works. Any questions, or if you require a more tailored demonstration, get in touch. We'd be happy to help. Thanks for listening.